Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Lazy Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Sam Priestley, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Emma Priestley.
Hello!
Today we're going to talk about a subject that when I described it to Emma before we started, she said, "Oh, that's a very Sam topic."
Yes, I did.
And that is redefining success. What does it mean to be successful? And the reason it's a very me topic is because I think that what society thinks is success, or who the successful people are, is wrong. When we think about professional athletes, CEOs, business tycoons, playboys, whatever, captains of industry, the people who, we see on TV that we idolise as very, very successful, in my mind, they all have the same issue, and that is that they are focused so much on one part of their life that they are really unbalanced. So let me explain a bit more what I mean by that. I think that there's a concept of good enough, that there are diminishing returns the better you get at something. In other words, the better you get at something, the more you need to do, the harder you need to work to achieve any more, to achieve a little bit more. So an example would be in weightlifting. If you went from never having lifted weights before, after a year of lifting weights, you'll see huge gains. You will have doubled or even tripled the amount you can lift. But if you've been a regular weightlifter for 5-10 years, the amount of work you need to put in just to add a few pounds or a couple of kilograms to the amount you lift every year is the same amount of work that person is putting in their first year, maybe even more. It's real diminishing gains. And so the best weightlifters are people who are putting in huge amounts of work just for tiny incremental achievements. The same is true with money. There's huge benefits to making £50,000 a year versus just £10,000 a year. That'll have an unbelievable difference to your life and your quality of living. But going from £50,000 to £200,000, yeah, there is a benefit, but the benefit's a lot smaller. And then there's almost no benefit from going from £200,000 to say £1 million a year. The difference to your life won't be that big at all. And in fact, really, the more you earn, you actually end up hitting problems that you didn't have at lower levels. For instance, like if you're a billionaire, you've got to worry about stuff like getting kidnapped or your friends and family getting kidnapped. Well, how ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
You've got to think about security everywhere you go. You also end up not being able to survive without a certain level of luxury. You won't be able to take enjoyment in saying like staying in a hostel, somewhere like that. And probably the most realistic worry is you won't really be able to work out who are your friends and who are just talking to you because of your money or your success. So my point really is that there is a point when in reality, after you've worked hard at something, you've achieved enough, and that putting any more effort isn't really worth it, and it's a much better use of your time and energy to focus on a different part of your life. Because I believe in balance. I believe that you want to be as good as possible in a wide variety of things in your life.
Not just money.
Not just money, not just your tennis skill, not whatever it is, not just in your career. I believe that you should balance your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your financial health, your relationships with your friends, your relationships with your family, your romantic relationships, your downtime, your self-development. I mean, there's a whole range of things that are important, and that if you focus just on one part, yes, you could become one of the best in the world at that thing, but that is going to be at the detriment of all these other things.
Yeah.
And in my mind, the really successful people are the people who are doing well at a really wide range of these different aspects of life. I think when I bring it up like this, most people would agree with me that it's having a balance is really important, and that at some point it's not worth putting in the extra effort into one thing. It's worth focusing on a different part where you're getting easier gains. But the problem is that the people who I think are the most successful at life will never hear from because they've never pushed it to the boundary that they've become unusually exceptional in one field, then we actually hear about them. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but generally, if you listen to podcast interviews with famous people, they're all people who are absolutely smashed it at one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you have a deep chat with them, you'll find that there's other areas where they're lacking and they're struggling with. This is something that I think about quite a lot, because it's not just theoretical. It's something that
It impacts everyone.
it impacts everyone, and it's something that you can apply to your life.
I think the way a lot of people look at this is that they spend their lives concentrating on their financial health, and they only address the other areas. So, for example, mental health, physical health, relationships, when something goes wrong. So it's not they don't look at, for example, their physical health as something to invest in throughout their life. They think if something goes wrong, they become ill in some way. That's when they need to then spend more time on their physical health.
Yeah. You found that a lot when you were working at PwC, right?
Yeah.
Is that people would all the time having to take time off because they'd had a health breakdown.
Yeah.
Which they'd left to the last minute.
Yeah, it was all mental. Yeah. Yeah, rather than kind of take a step back and try and reduce the level of stress, and make sure they didn't get to a breakdown point, but they all did get to a breakdown point, and it was horrendous. Mm-hmm. And then I guess the other thing is looking at the partners. So every year they would go through a physical health check, and it was very much talked about that their health is associated with how much money they can make for the firm. And to be a partner, you have to invest money, your own money, into the firm. So if their health was poor, then that was going to affect their financial performance.
Mm-hmm. So the business was trying to find the optimal level where they can produce most for the company.
Yes, but it didn't work because most partners had extremely unhealthy lifestyles. So they didn't eat very well during work or outside work. They didn't do very much exercise. And they weren't really incentivized to improve it.
Yeah, and they look unhealthy as well.
Yes, well, it's the lifestyle of wining and dining clients, not sleeping very much, constantly travelling. It doesn't lend itself to a healthy lifestyle, and that's both physically and mentally.
I think it's really interesting how we judge people by their appearances as well. So we look at them, and if you didn't know they were a partner in a big firm, you'd think this person is really unhealthy. Like, what's he doing with his life? Yeah. But then once you know he earns all this money, you're like, oh, well, he's actually successful. And likewise, when you see an athlete who is at peak, like, physical perfection, you're like, oh, that guy is doing really well. What you don't know is he's missed the last Christmas. He's missed Christmas for the last 10 years and hasn't seen his family because he's been busy training and working. You don't see what his, like, relationships are with his friends and family. Yeah. There's all this kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you don't really know of. I think of this concept quite a bit because I'm actually a really competitive person, and I find myself, when I look at certain people who are excelling in a field, I get a bit jealous, and I get kind of like motivated to really compete and to drop everything else I'm doing and try and like keep up.
In that one area.
I'm like, well, I could be, if only I was putting in as much work as they might be. And so I have to remind myself of this concept that, yes, they are absolutely like beating me to a pulp in this one section of life. But in reality, they're probably unbalanced, and there's probably other parts of their life where they might look at me and be jealous of me. And then I can then approach that in a different way. Instead of saying, oh, this person is so much better than me, teach me. I can approach it from, well, we've actually both got stuff to give to each other. Let's learn from each other. Yeah. And it means if I fail at something, I can think to myself, well, the reason I failed is because I prioritised other areas of my life. Yeah. Which is often true. But, you know, what is the balance? What is the best balance? I don't know. That's something I'm constantly working
I don't think
out.
There is.
Yeah.
I think it changes every moment, every day. I think that's the point. You've got to be reactive to this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's juggling plates.
And you know, life should be constant improvement, constant development. So your level of good enough at one thing might then change because everything else might have built up to that level.
And things change in your life, like, for example, us getting married. So our relationships with our family has had to change since we were married.
Yeah.
And that's just that's the reality of it.
I thought it was interesting talking to someone at our church who was saying that for the first year of married life, couples aren't allowed to do any voluntary work at the church.
Yeah.
Because they consider it quite important that you spend that
Time with
time
each other,
focusing on your relationship together.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. So you don't really think about. Imagine if the same was at work.
Yeah.
You have maternity leave. What about like new relationship leave?
Yeah. And the time you should invest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I don't really know the balance. Just so there is some balance that needs to be had. And something I'm constantly working on.
I guess it's making conscious decisions about this stuff.
Mm.
It's being aware this is our first year of marriage, so instead of, I don't know, going to the pub every week with your mates, you use some of that time, I'm not saying every week, but some of that time with your partner. And it's thinking about these decisions and making a decision together or, consciously.
I have this idea that I can do two things well every day. So I can do sport, say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I can do work, but I can't do anything else well.
I did not know that about
I can't socialise, or I can't do dates, or I can't commit myself very well to the other stuff. Or I can do social stuff and say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or I can do work and social stuff.
Wow. And
generally, I think that, I can do all three, but I can't do all three well.
Wow, okay.
So say, for instance, yesterday, I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and relationship stuff with you, just chilling out with you.
You did do
I did do
work.
a little bit of work, but I did about an hour and a half, 2 hours, stuff like that. So I didn't do that well.
Yeah.
Then again, I could spend all day working on one thing, and I wouldn't be able to then do jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't be able to then hang out with you or go visit friends or do whatever the other thing might be.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Do you not know that?
No, I didn't know that.
No, I've thought that for a few years, really.
Wow.
That but that's what's true for me. That's given my energy levels, and doing exercise uses up energy and means that I don't have the energy for work or whatever.
Yep.
Socialising uses up energy for me. Whenever you commit yourself to, whenever you put energy into something, it's going to take energy out of you. And it is possible to cruise through certain things. So you could spend, go to the gym in the morning, work really hard, then spend all day working, and then come home and kind of just cruise through the evening with your family.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that well, and you're not going to be improving those
relationships.
That evening relationships. You've actually got to work hard on it.
Yeah. Or the amount of time you've allocated for exercise maybe isn't enough before work.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah, or you're doing both half-assed. You're half-assing the exercise and you're half-assing the family or relationship time at the end.
I think it's so interesting you putting it like that. It's now making me think, how do I value it? And I think, without just think off the cuff, I value doing as many as possible in one day. So I think having the combination of, I don't know, seeing a friend for coffee, doing some work, going to yoga, I don't know what else I could add into that. Spending time with you, something to do with self-development, improving something around cooking. That, as a list of things to do in one day, for me, at the end of that day, would be a very successful day.
Yeah.
And seeing, speaking to my mum on the phone.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Rather than I spent a whole day on work, I think that's been a successful day because I don't just value work as successful.
I think you generally have higher energy levels than me anyway. So I think if I tried to do all of that, I would really struggle, or it would wipe me out for the next day. The next day I'd struggle to be productive at all, really. Yeah,
well, I guess my focus is on spending time with other people. So whether it's friends, family, you. So I get my energy from that, whereas that exhausts you.
Yeah. And it's true. I know someone who used to turn up to work at sort of 6 a.m. and leave work at 8, 9 at night. And I was speaking to a friend who worked with him as well, and I was like, I don't know how he has the energy to do it, how he has the energy to work all day long. And the guy kind of laughed. I was like, he doesn't spend the day working, he spends his day mincing around London, meeting up with his friends and having a great time.
Chatting, having coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a different way of seeing it. He's doing some work, but he's also combining it with a lot of different things in order to kind of get the most out of maybe different energy pockets he has inside of him. Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that as well, that you draw energy from different areas. I think that about creativity, that a change of scene will spur creativity. So Robert Rodriguez, who's a director, what he does is he gets his actors to, when they're preparing for a role, they'll do a bit of like method acting, then they'll try and like paint the character, then they'll play a bit of music and maybe write a little story. So they're constantly changing the medium of which they're being creative. And he reckons that really helped bring everything out. And I think that's true. Definitely I find when doing work is I'll go off to a different place with my laptop, and that change of scenery will work quite well.
And also, I think you get a lot of, I don't know whether energy is the right word, maybe strength from your spiritual health.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably all very personal to each person. But, we're back to the idea of there having to be a balance. The sort of yin-yang of your life.
And that changes every moment, every day, every week, every year.
Yeah.
It's not something you can plan out. This is what I'm going to do in 2019. I think you've got to be reactionary. Reacting to this stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So who do you think of when we think of successful people?
That's a good question. It's a hard one. It's a hard question because you can't see how everyone is balanced among all the different stuff.
You only see one side.
So I can look at some people. So someone who jumps to mind, whom a lot of people might have heard of, is this guy, Mr. Money Mustache, who's a blogger. And his thing is that he retired when he was 30 and now spends his time, with his family and his self-development, and he's got this big believer in like building stuff with your hands and living a fulfilled life that is sort of financially free. And when I look at him, I think, that is the sort of person I think is very successful. He's not particularly successful monetarily. He lives, the way he achieves it is by living a very cheap life. But he also has this idea that, of all topics I've talked about before, hedonistic adaptation, stuff like that, that if you live a luxurious life, you need that luxurious life, and it's much better to live a life of, kind of basic life. So I think of him as successful, but I don't know, maybe other parts of his life isn't going so well. Maybe there's certain things that he's struggling with. Someone else I kind of think of when I think of successful people, people like Tim Ferriss. He's kind of known for being quite good at a bunch of different things, but not being exceptional at any one, kind of skipping between things and getting good enough at a bunch of different topics. He's made a decent amount of money, he's done all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, he's spoken quite a lot about his mental health issues and how he struggles with friendships and relationships, and how he's got maybe an obsessive person, like he's a bit of an obsessive person, and that has its downsides as well. So maybe he would look at other people and say those people are what I'd consider successful. There's people like Joe Rogan, who, in my idea, has kind of got the perfect life where he spends the time doing stuff he's really interested in, and he runs his podcast where he spends a few hours a day on it, where he just talks to interesting people and works on developing himself and learning more.
He's always talking about doing different skills, so whether it's learning archery or whether he's in the gym or whether he's on some crazy new diet.
And he's just got a very inquisitive mind, so he's very interested in whatever topic people are talking about or bringing up. And, he also does his stand-up comedy, and he's really into martial arts and so commentates with MMA. So he's someone who seems very successful. As far as I know, his family life is good, and he's got some children and stuff like that he spends a lot of time with. But who knows? Maybe there's other parts of his life where he feels unbalanced and is lacking a bit, and you don't really know. I think it's easier to look closer to home at sort of friends and family, people who you think they've got it worked out. They're doing well. I think Ben Larkham, business partner, he would definitely fit that category as someone who I think is successful. He's very comfortable in himself and his interests. He makes enough money, so he's not particularly focused on that. He's at the moment he's really working on kind of his spiritual health and that kind of side of it, and trying to be a service to other people. So I'd say he is someone who I consider very successful.
And physical health as well.
And physical health, he's really into sport and exercise and self-development.
Yeah.
So he'd tick a lot of boxes to me. I did an interview with him in one of the previous episodes. It's a bonus episode. You can look that up. Someone else, my friend Daniel Lim, I think he ticks a lot of boxes. I don't think he's achieved it. I don't think he's achieved that, what we would probably both consider a very successful person in a complete balance across his life, but I think he's well on his way there.
He's very close, isn't he?
And he's moving, he's moving in the right direction with everything.
And do you think people would view you as someone in their lives that has quite a good balance across these things?
Well, I hope so. I've been working very hard over the last, ever since I kind of thought of these concepts, maybe like 5 years ago, to be my definition of success, which is someone who's balanced across all these different things. And I think that I have, I haven't achieved everything I want to, but I never will, because that's the whole point, because it's a work in progress. But I do think that I hope people look at me as someone who's successful in this balance. But then again, I probably know people from different aspects of my life, and they'll look at me in different ways. I was in jiu-jitsu. I'm a blue belt. The top rank's a black belt. There's people who look at me and say, oh, well, he's not that good. He's not successful. But they don't see all the other parts of my life where I think I'm a bit better balanced. Same in work. I've got friends who make a lot more money than me. They might look at me and say, oh, he's not doing that well. But then in both instances, there'll be white belts in jiu-jitsu who will look at me and say, wow, he's awesome. And there'll be people who are earning a lot less money than me and think, wow, he's doing awesome. So, it's hard to know. Same with like friends and family. I don't know when do my family think I've got it worked out, or if they think I'm going down some weird paths. I think definitely at one point in life, everyone kind of sort of passively disapproved of what I was up to.
Definitely.
Why are you not getting a job? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that?
I'm constantly giving you articles with houses for sale.
Oh yeah, my mum is always trying to convince me to buy a house to live in, because that's one of her, what she sees as good balance
success.
In life.
Yeah.
That will be one thing, having a home, having a house, having a stable home.
Yeah.
I think other people see us and say we don't have any children. To them, that is one of their success criteria.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, it's easy to idolise people who are close to you. I think my mum is someone who has been very successful in her life.
Yeah.
In achieving what she has, which has been a very caring, nurturing person, and being like a real asset to loads of people in her life, and probably the single biggest good influence on a bunch of different people in her life.
Yeah.
From our close family to other friends as well.
And she's also very academically successful. She's very successful in her career.
Well, she was a barrister, a lawyer, but then she quit and instead became a housewife, and then eventually went back and became like a secretary for like a charity, writing kind of grant applications. So I think a lot of people would say she quit what could have been a successful career.
Well, I think she had a successful career. I don't think it's about what she doesn't have now. It's that she has been very successful at different things throughout her life, which is a good thing.
Then I think there's other parts where she might be struggling a little bit more, maybe health-wise. I think she's going through a slightly tough time at the moment. I think she's probably taken on a bit too much stress in her life, a bit too much of other people's burdens. But yeah, so it's hard. What about you? Successful people?
I think that's a really difficult question to answer, and this topic's quite new to me, so I think I need a bit of time to think about it. But I would say the same in terms of my mum, emotionally, kind of her relationships with friends and family, and also her career. we've always been very financially stable. My parents aren't millionaires, but we've had a very good life. And it's been very comfortable. Yeah, in terms of other areas of life, I think that's really hard. I don't think I have anyone individually that I financially look at for kind of inspiration or mentally. Yeah, I don't think I need a bit more time to think.
I suppose that's the other thing. You don't need to pick one person who's successful. You can pick all the parts of your life you think are really important and then look at people who are successful in that part.
Yeah.
And then look at how you can work to become more like that person.
Yeah.
Even if you'll never be. And then hopefully you build a balance.
Yeah, I guess to me, the most important one of those kind of categories is probably mental. And I don't think I have anyone that I would really think that's us.
Well, don't know what to say to that.
That's what I try to be for other people.
Yeah, hopefully. And hopefully you are. Well, that was a pretty short podcast, I think, to the point, and hopefully you can maybe take some ideas away from it. I think that changing your concept of what is successful is useful both for how you spend your time, how you improve your life, then also about not being unhealthily obsessed with celebrities or like people who've really been successful in one area and really idolising that. So hopefully you'll feel the same. If not, then drop me an email and let me know what your opinion is. As always, I hope you found this useful, and if you did, please leave me a 5-star review on whatever you're listening to this on, iTunes or Stitcher or whatever. Thank you very much.
Bye.